everyone, and welcome to the start of Season 7 of the Prismatic Draft League. This season we got a very interesting one up for you folks because it is the first time that we've done a repeat season in the Prismatic Draft League. Yes, this is the second draft league in a row for PDL that is going to be based on Regulation H, which means no Paradox Pokemon, no legendaries, no restricted. It's all just going to be DLC 1 Pokemon, DLC 2 Pokemon, and base game Pokemon. We got 12 coaches this season, and we are coach of the Cryptic Cryogonals, keeping up my tradition of going with an Ice-type team. We were the Snowpoint Snowruns in the past, we were the Arctic Articunos. This time we're the Cryptic Cryogonals. And we're gonna start off with, we were 4th pick. Ooh, a bit of a spoiler there. But we were 4th pick out of 12. And I decided to draft my S tier right away. We drafted Arcanine Hisui. Now, Arcanine Hisui's been on the channel before. But this is my first time drafting Arcanine Hisui as my S tier. I've drafted Arcanine Hisui as an A tier before. But it was quickly realized that the rock typing actually it doesn't hinder it that badly, and it's pretty on par with regular Arcanine. In fact, it's being a little better in that it hits slightly harder, and it has Stab Rock Slide, which is actually really helpful. As well as having access to stuff like Choice Band. Rockhead, meaning Flare Blitz and Head Smashes, are hitting for very hard hitting without any downsides to them. And sitting at a good speed tier at base 90, resisting a good amount of types. Fire is a very important type to actually have a quad resistance to. And overall, a very solid first pick for us. Now, of course, that means, as you well know from previous seasons, that means that we'll actually be able to draft an A tier Pokemon. So how it works is you get an S tier or an S plus tier, an A tier or B tier, an A tier, a B tier, 2 C tiers, a D tier, and 4 free agents. Now, because of this, we'll actually be able to draft 2 A tiers without having to go into free agents. And right off the bat, I grabbed Kilowattrel. Now, Kilowattrel has been on the channel all the way back in the beginning. Back when I was in a different draft league, I drafted Kilowattrel as my Tailwind support. And I decided to do that again here. Now, Kilowattrel is fast. 125 base speed. Got wind power to charge it up even more. Got Volt Absorb, so I have an electric immunity on my team. It's very useful to have. It's immune to ground types. Can't really hit hard into ground types, however, but it has a decent solid move pool. Not really in terms of coverage, but it's fast Paralysis, it's fast Thunderbolt. It's slightly slower than our typical target of Electrode Hisui, but it hits harder than Electrode Hisui, and with the access of Tailwind, I hope it will provide more benefits to our team aside from just Paralysis. Now, with that in mind, right, when the draft comes back to me again, I have 2 ideas in my head. So right now, as you see, we drafted Arcanine, which is base 90 speed, and Kilowattrel, which is base 125. So I already have in my head that I want to go for a faster draft. And when you go for a faster draft, something that you sacrifice is survivability. A lot of the faster Pokemon are frailer. So I draft Klefki next. Now, Klefki is on the slow side, right? Well, slower side for this team. Base 75 isn't anything to be, like, worried about. I'd say anything around base 70 speed in draft is something you really need to consider. How do you control speed? But base 75 for Klefki is perfectly fine. And it doesn't matter because it has Prankster. And specifically, Prankster screens. Now, Klefki will be able to patch up the holes that in the defense that the team is kind of experiencing. Like, we have Intimidate on the Arcanine, but special defensive wise, we're kind of kind of not doing great. I could slap an Assault Vest on Arcanine, but if we do that, we have other things we have to worry about. And then Steel Fury is just a great defensive type. Like, look at how many types we resist. We are only weak to 2 types, Fire and Ground. And everything else is either resisted or neutral. And Klefki has honestly some great supportive stuff. Like I already mentioned the screens, but it has stuff like, where is it? It has Weathers. It has Switcheroo, which is for those who don't know, it's the exact same effect as Trick, where you can swap the item with your opponent. Has Imprison, Metal Sound. I don't know what Fairy Lock does, but it's something it has. We have stuff like Iron Defense, which we could do a defensive idea, but that's really not too useful. But yeah, we got some very interesting stuff with Klefki here. Normally, I am on the receiving end of Klefki spam in Draft League, but this time, we're going to be using Klefki ourselves. And then, I wanted to grab a offensive water type for the team. I thought for a long time that I was going to draft Milotic. But when looking at the team, right, I was saying to myself, look, I want to go fast and I want to hit hard. And while Milotic does have some good moves in Hydro Pump and Scald, I feel like it isn't offensive enough. And, oh, I forgot to mention, Klefki was B tier. So, Gyarados is our second A tier, and it provides a lot for the team. It's the second Intimidate Pokemon, which will be funny as we go further down the line, but it's also a Moxie Pokemon, so Gyarados has 2 very good abilities for us, right? And we saw that last season when Mario kicked my ass with Gyarados. I could run, like, Choice Band, Moxie Gyarados next to Klefki, and just completely sweep the field. Base 81 speed, it's a little slower than I like, but we could do something like a Dragon Dance, and Gyarados actually has base 100 special defense. You know, I never really realized that, because I always think of Gyarados as having pretty poor special defense because of its 4 times weakness to electric types. So, like, 1 Thunderbolt and this thing goes down. But with Terra, we can change that, as well. We also have a Kilowatt, we can swap in on the electric moves, potentially. And Gyarados just had some solid attacks. Waterfall as your, your Water Stab. I think it also gets Wave Crash. Is Wave Crash TM? Oh, I guess it doesn't get Wave Crash. Okay, looks like we're stuck with Waterfall, but Waterfall is a solid base 80 move. Got stuff like Dragon Dance. We have solid coverage, actually. Crunch. Dark Pulse for some reason. Flamethrower. This is a Gen 1 Pokemon if you've ever seen all, like, Gen Pokemon. One Pokemon get, like, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and Blizzard for some reason. I don't think we get Blizzard. We get Ice Beam. Oh, we do get Blizzard. That's not really going to be doing anything off of base 60 special attack. The point is that Gyarados is a very offensive water type for us. And then I draft my first free agent in Crocodile. Crocodile is a bit of a interesting one for us because it's a second Intimidate Moxie Pokemon. So just like Gyarados, we can either run as an Intimidate Pokemon, or we could like do like a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf set for Crocodile. But I wanted Crocodile purely because when looking at the rest of the draft board, I wasn't really seeing that many strong ground types that I'd like to use for the team. And Mamoswine's an option, but Mamoswine is slow. So we went with Crocodile. And it's with this pick that other coaches, specifically Ava, pointed out just how many Intimidate Pokemon I've been taking. That's 3 at this point, right? We have 3 Intimidate Pokemon. And so far, all 3 of them have different abilities that I could use instead of Intimidate. So, that's a cool little thing to see. But Crocodile was there just because I want a good ground type. I think it also gets knockoff, if I'm not mistaken. Should get knockoff, right? Yeah, so we have a knockoff Pokemon. I think we have other Pokemon I get knockoff. It's decent-ish coverage moves. Dragon Tail, Low Sweep, Low Kick, Elemental Fangs, Outrage, Breaking Swipe, Skitter Smack. Yeah, so it actually has decent coverage, and at base 117 attack, it is nothing to sneeze at. The only problem is it is quite weak to quite a few of the common types. You got Water, Bug, Ice, Grass, Fighting, and Fairy. All types that you don't really want to be weak against, but what can you do, right? Crocodile, I think, should provide a lot of value for us despite its weaknesses. And if it doesn't, at the end of the day, Crocodile is a free agent. So if we need to, and I decide that Crocodile isn't pulling his weight anymore, I can trade him out for something else. And then we actually choose our second free agent, which is Gardevoir. Now, Gardevoir is in B tier, and this is now, I think, the first season of draft where I don't pick up 2 A tiers for my free agents. We're actually going to get an A tier, 2 B tiers, and a D tier, untiered, sorry, for our free agents. So, mixing it up a little bit. And I wanted Gardevoir because I think for being a B tier, it provides us great value as a offensive fairy type. Now, it is a bit slower than the rest of the team at base 80 speed, but with Kilowatts providing intelligence support, I'm not too worried about that. Telepathy can allow stuff for like Crocodile to do a expanded Earthquake sweep with next to Gardevoir without any worries. Psychic Fairy is just a very good offensive type. We hit quite a few types for super effective damage. We hit Poison, Dragon, Fighting, and Dark. Poison, Fighting, and Dark are some very important types to hit for super effective damage, because they can be quite hard to deal with in draft, in my opinion. And once again, we look at the moveset of Gardevoir, and we have quite a bit of variety here. It is a second screen setter for us, because one thing I have with Klefki, right, is it's very reliable at setting up screens, but it's a bit predictable that it would set up screens, so maybe having something like Gardevoir that's able to set up screens reliably as well could be something to use. Got Imprison, Trick Room, Palm Mind. It can learn Knockoff, but I really don't see using it at only base 65 attack. Icy Wind for speed control. Yeah, I feel very confident about the Gardevoir pick. It's another Thunder Wave user, too. And then I pick up Tauros, and I got a lot of heat for this one. Tauros is in C tier, so this is my first C tier pick. And I picked it up for one main reason. Sheer Force. Sheer Force looks like it would be incredibly useful for us to use. It is another fast Pokemon for us, as well as being a very offensive normal type. So Tauros can very easily slot into any scenario because it's only weak to fighting. But the only thing other coaches saw when I picked this is that it's a 4th Intimidate Pokemon for the team. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even realize it at first, because all I was looking at was Sheer Force. And then I get a ping from Ava telling me to stop. But we got some very, very solid moves here for us. Base 90 signature move that destroys screens. Giga Impact, not really too useful. Does Sheer Force cancel out the recoil of Double Edge? I'm not sure. I think it does, but I might be wrong. And then, like just any other Gen 1 Pokemon, it gets all like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, whatever. Wild Charge is pretty useful. Earthquake's pretty useful. Close Combat. Brook Chop. Tauros has very good coverage, and base 100 attack is pretty good. And now we draft our second free agent, and our third free agent, sorry, our second B tier free agent, and we draft Sceptile. Sceptile finishes out the Fire, Water, Grass core that we have going. And I'm actually really excited to draft Sceptile because the last time I drafted Sceptile, I had Ogerpon Hearthflame on the team, and that kind of just filled up the grass slot for most engagements. But now that Sceptile is our grass type, we can actually put it to use. It has 120 base speed, so we're keeping up the fast offense with this one. And its move pool is decent, but not great. It learns a lot of physical moves, unfortunately, because it was designed before the physical special split. And they never really change its moveset past that. They just keep giving it more physiskill moves. Game Freak, why? Please, give Sceptile a moveset update. Or at the very least, swap its special attack and attack, please. Sceptile is so close to being good. But you just don't give him anything. Best I have is Energy Ball and Leaf Storm in terms of stab. And that's not awful to have to work with. But when so much of Sceptile's moveset is physical, like look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of its learnable moves are special. But then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. We have over double the TMs that it can learn are for physical, which is its worst stat. Please, Game Freak, I beg you. But regardless of the pretty poor move pool, I think Sceptile will be able to handle off as our good grass type for the team. As well as having Shedtail. Now, we didn't get to use Shedtail last time we had Sceptile. But I want to try actually using it. Especially because there's a team in the league that's actually going Perish Trap, which will be very interesting to deal with. Next up, we go further down the list and go down to our D tier pick before finishing off the C tiers. And we draft Magneton. Now, all the way back in my first season of draft, I drafted Magneton. And that was pretty solid. And one thing on looking at the D tier that I was looking at is that there just wasn't anything interesting in D tier that I wanted. I could have gone for Thwacky, which would have helped with the Unburden, give us a fake out user, but that got sniped by Ninja. And then looking at the rest of the D tiers, I decided to just look up Magneton's stats and thought it has 120 special attack. What? I didn't know this thing hit that hard. And then, of course, we have Analytic to make it even stronger. Or Sturdy to keep itself alive. It is a free Focus Sash Pokemon, and it can run Eviolite. The only problem being that if I'm running Eviolite, I'm probably not getting O-Code. But in case I am, we have Sturdy. Or we have Magnet Pull to trapping other Steel Pokemon. And Magneton just resists so many types in the game. It's a Steel type after all. And it's weak to Fire, Fighting, and Ground, some of the types that we are actually very commonly weak to on this team. But it's a pretty cheap Steel type for the team, and it is a second Electric type user for the team, which I kind of prefer, because while Kilowattrel can hit hard, Magneton hits harder, and Kilowattrel is more likely to be hard countered by just being shot out of the sky, right? I'll most likely have to be running Focus Sash on Kilowattrel. And I'll be spending a turn setting up Tailwind. So it's not going to be getting many times to attack. So we get some good options. We get another Screens user, funnily enough. Got some good moves like Eerie Impulse, Thunderbolt, Electric Terrain, Gravity, Electro Web. And yeah, I just think Magneton could be very useful as our D tier pick. Next up, we had to draft Mascot. Well, we didn't have to, because there were two Pokemon I was looking for at C tier. And it was tough, this decision. I was looking at Cryogonal and I was looking at Toxicroak. Both providing very different roles for the team. Cryogonal is a answer for all the ground-type Pokemon that we are weak to. And that could be very useful against another coach on the league who's running a very mean-looking sand team. But it's another fighting-type weakness, so got quite a few of those running about. And spoiler alert for the last pick, I don't end up drafting a fake-out user this time around, so not having Toxicroaks in fake-out is a little rough. The problem is if I drafted Toxicroak just for fake-out, then it's another ground weakness to the team, and I just felt like I could more easily handle all the fighting weaknesses than I can the ground weaknesses. Because at least with the fighting weaknesses, I have a Pokemon that quad resists fighting, and 4 Intimidate Pokemon. So Cryogonal just provided us with fast ice moves, because ice is a pretty good offensive type. And that's really it. That's really the only reason why I drafted Cryogonal, besides it being the mascot. Just for fast ice. And then last off, did I say we had 4 Intimidate Pokemon? Sorry, I meant we had 5. There wasn't really a reason why I didn't go for an Intimidate Pokemon. I mean, a Fake Out Pokemon. I could have drafted one of the Meowths, but I think only one Meowth was drafted this time around. But I figured if I was getting a lot of flack for all the Intimidate Pokemon I was drafting, might as well draft just one more. I don't expect to use this guy at all. I just did it for the jokes. But if I had to say why I'd use it, it gets Parting Shot. Yeah, regular. Yeah, Parting Shot's an egg move, so Meowth gets. Not Meowth. Litten gets it. Other than that, that would do it for this week. I mean, this season of PDL. Let's go over to the type matchups. So we have 4 weaknesses to ground. Well, I say 4, but it's really only 3 because I don't intend on using Litten at all. It was just a joke. 2 of which are quad weaknesses, so that's a little scary, especially having so many like shared weaknesses. Like we have 5 Pokemon. No, we have 5 Pokemon weak to ground. I mean rock, or 4 Pokemon if I don't count Litten. And we have 4 Pokemon weak to fighting, which is rough, right? So, but what are the types that we're good against? We are really good into grass, right? We have 5 resistances. Well, 4 if I don't count Litten, let's be fair here. We're really good into bug. We're really good into dragon. We don't have any resistances, but we do have 2 immunities. But, of course, we don't have a dragon of our own, which is why another reason why I drafted Cryogonal, because if I don't have a dragon type of my own, might as well draft another dragon answer. But we have, I'd say, a decent spread this time around. We have 4 Pokemon that are over base 100 speed, 2 in base 90, 2 in base 80, and then 3 in base 70 or above. With Klefki, doesn't really matter. Manaton is actually kind of preferable because of analytic. But I am quite happy with how this team has shaped up. I guess we could do one other thing. Let's take a look at the VGC support for this team. I did draft a fake out user. I forgot Litten got fake out. I only remember Incineroar gets fake out. I forgot Litten got it. So I guess we do have a fake out user. But we got quite a big form of speed control. We have 5 Bulldoze Pokemon, 2 Electro Webs, 4 Icy Wind Pokemon, Tailwind, and 2 Trick Room Pokemon, though Trick Room isn't really something we're going to be clicking. 4 Pokemon with Taunt, which is pretty good to have. We do have Encore too, which is very niche, but is pretty helpful against setup Pokemon. 2 Snarl users in Crocodile and Arcanine, as well as Quick Guard on Sceptile. Now, Quick Guard is something I always forget exists, but what it does is it prevents you from being hit by priority moves, which is very niche. And we do have a haste user in Cryogonal, which is actually really useful to stop setup Pokemon. We got 2 Pokemon with Knockoff and 2 Pokemon with Trick. 3 Will-O-Whispers, 5 Thunder Wave Pokemon. Look, Thunder Wave is my favorite form of speed control. I have to say it. Quite a bit of healing. Healing Wish, Morning Sun, Recover, Roost, Synthesis, and Wish. And then Momentum, we do have Parting Shot on Litten, as I said. Shed Tail on Sceptile. 2 U-Turn Pokemon and 2 Volt Switch Pokemon. Although Kilowattrel is not going to be using U-Turn, it's going to be using Volt Switch. That does it for the team this time around for this season of PDL. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you when we get into the Week 1 matchup. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.